And after nearly a 2-month trial with 34 witnesses and hours of salacious testimony, a jury of 8 men and 4 women finds Sean Diddy Combs not guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking, but guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution.
After months of jaw-dropping testimony, back-to-back bombshells, the hammer has finally dropped. Sean Diddy Combs, once the untouchable king of hip-hop, has officially been sentenced. No more courtroom games. No more press spin. The verdict is real. It's shaking the culture to its core. From Kid Cudi's near-death car explosion to disturbing witness confessions, this case did more than expose crimes. It ripped the mask off an empire ruled by intimidation. Acquitted of some, convicted of others, Diddy is now facing hard prison time. Bail? Denied. But this isn't closure. This is just the beginning. Outside the courthouse, angry families, teary onlookers, new accusers tell a deeper, darker story. What went down behind closed doors? What does this sentencing mean for everything Diddy built? We're breaking it all down, from the trial's first explosion to the final, stunned goodbye. With months of relentless coverage, courtroom chaos, the media circus has finally led to one thing: consequences. Diddy walked away from this high-stakes trial with a split decision. Yes, he dodged the heaviest charges: racketeering, sex trafficking, conspiracy. But make no mistake, he's still going down. The jury found him guilty of 2 major counts: transporting individuals across state lines for prostitution. Those 2 charges, they carry real weight. Sentencing is locked in for October 3rd. Until then, the court isn't budging on bail. Despite his legal team's desperate pleas, Diddy remains in a jail cell, counting down the days. Under the Federal Mann Act, each charge could bring 10 years, up to 20 total. Prosecutors want 46 months. But the judge has full control. There's no mandatory minimum to stop him from going harder. Even prison time might not be the worst of what's coming. Diddy's empire is already starting to collapse under the pressure of what's next: civil lawsuits, possible asset seizures. On top of that, another disturbing claim just landed. A former exotic dancer has come forward, alleging that Diddy drugged, sexually assaulted him, leaving him with broken teeth, needing stomach surgery. That accusation adds fuel to a fire that's already scorching. With each new lawsuit, his reputation crumbles, his fortune slips further away. Legal experts are already weighing in. Matt Murphy, a former sex crimes prosecutor, said the RICO charge never quite fit. This wasn't the mafia, he said. Bad Boy was a legit company. That Mann Act? That stuck. It's opening dangerous new doors for prosecution. Murphy didn't stop there. He questioned whether the prosecutors made a fatal mistake, trying to go too big, too fast. With so many flawed witnesses, messy stories, the case may have overwhelmed the jury instead of convincing them. They'll be second-guessing that strategy for years, he warned. But beyond courtroom tactics, there's a bigger storm brewing, a national conversation about celebrity justice who actually gets held accountable. Sure, Diddy dodged some of the ugliest charges, but what's coming next could ruin him just the same. Between financial ruin, public disgrace, endless legal warfare, he's nowhere near out of the woods. So how did we get here? How did a hip-hop legend become the center of one of the most scandalous cases in entertainment history? The downfall of Sean Combs wasn't sudden. It was decades in the making. What began as meteoric fame, billionaire status, has now turned into a courtroom freefall. The world is watching every second of it unfold. Stay locked in, because this story isn't close to over. New accusers are speaking out. Federal investigators are circling. With sentencing around the corner, Diddy's next chapter could be the darkest one yet. Known by many names, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, or just Diddy, Sean Combs built more than a music empire. He built a myth. As the mastermind behind Bad Boy Records, he didn't just launch careers, he defined an era. Artists like the notorious B.I.G. weren't just signed. They were turned into icons. In the 90s and early 2000s, Diddy wasn't just a tastemaker. He was hip-hop royalty, dripping in diamonds, cash, private jets, and billion-dollar deals. His net worth once soared past $1 billion, but behind the champagne and success were whispers that refused to die. Stories of violence, stories of manipulation, even ties to darker conspiracies that would never fully fade. There were always questions. Why did Kid Cudie's car explode? Why did Diddy's name always pop up in conversations about Tupac's murder? Most of it was shrugged off as industry gossip until 2023. That's when everything changed. Cassie Ventura, Diddy's longtime ex-girlfriend, filed a lawsuit that dropped like a nuclear bomb. After years in silence and darkness, I'm ready to tell my story, she said. Her claims weren't vague. They were graphic. They were chilling. She accused Diddy of drugging her, beating her multiple times per year, even coercing her into sex with male prostitutes while he watched, filmed, and got off on the humiliation. Cass's account described a man obsessed with control, not just over her body, but over her entire life. Diddy managed her music career. He paid her rent, bought her clothes, even controlled her transportation. She claimed he had access to her medical files and used fear as a leash. One misstep, one refusal, he'd threatened to destroy everything she worked for. Publicly, Diddy stayed silent. Privately, he acted fast. Within days, the case was quietly settled. No trial, no cross-examination, no testimony. To many, that wasn't justice. It was damage control. A billionaire throwing hush money to silence what could have destroyed him in open court. But that settlement only cracked the dam. What followed was a legal avalanche. More accusers, more lawsuits. Suddenly, Diddy wasn't just fighting one case. He was drowning in them. Abuse, sexual assault, trafficking, intimidation. By early 2024, reports claimed he was facing over 100 civil complaints. And still, the law hadn't touched him until it did. In a move straight out of a crime drama, federal agents raided multiple Diddy mansions. Homeland Security, with teams from New York, L.A., and Miami, stormed his properties in a rare joint operation. Even his sons, Justin and Christian, were cuffed and detained. The message was loud. The investigation was real. And then, the internet exploded. CNN released exclusive surveillance footage of Diddy viciously assaulting Cassie in a hotel hallway. He shoved her, kicked her, dragged her. There was no denying it, no spinning it. The world saw what Cassie had been living with. Diddy posted a public apology days later. I hit rock bottom, he admitted. My behavior is inexcusable. I take full responsibility. He looked straight at the camera, remorseful, shattered. But the damage was already done. His apology didn't stop the lawsuits. It didn't stop the raids. It didn't stop the fall. It only confirmed what so many feared was true, that the man once worshipped by millions may have built his kingdom on fear, silence, and abuse. In September 2024, the storm hit its peak. Federal authorities finally made their move, arresting and indicting Sean Diddy Combs in what will become one of the most explosive criminal cases in music history. The charges? Nothing short of staggering. Prosecutors claim Diddy didn't just build a music empire. He built a criminal enterprise. Racketeering, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, obstruction of justice. This wasn't just about celebrity scandal. This was a full-scale federal takedown. According to the indictment, Combs weaponized his companies, his employees, even his fame, to intimidate, exploit, and silence. Behind the closed doors of Combs Enterprises, federal prosecutors say a shadow empire operated, one that masked physical abuse, psychological control, and coordinated crime spanning years. From 2009 onward, Diddy allegedly assaulted multiple women, striking, punching, dragging, and kicking them, often in luxury penthouses, backstage suites, or behind studio walls. Prosecutors painted a picture of a man who used his status to brutalize those closest to him while keeping the public dazzled by wealth and fame. But the most disturbing piece of the puzzle? The so-called freak-offs, drug-fueled sex parties that allegedly doubled as scenes of manipulation, coercion, and control. According to witness testimony, the freak-offs weren't just wild parties. They were orchestrated acts of abuse. Narcotics, threats, and controlled tactics were allegedly used to force both men and women into sex acts while Diddy watched or participated. Prosecutors say these parties were designed to serve Diddy's personal gratification and suppress anyone who might one day speak out. The federal government didn't hold back. They hit him with 3 major charges: racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking through force, fraud, or coercion, and transporting individuals across state lines for prostitution. As new testimony poured in, the narrative only got darker. For Diddy, the stakes couldn't be higher. His freedom, legacy, and fortune are all on the line. When a case hits the federal level, there's no live stream, no camera flashes inside the courtroom. Only sketches and transcripts make it out. But even without video, what's unfolding is devastating. Prosecutors began lining up witness after witness, many described as credible, calm, and terrifyingly detailed. They told of years of systematic abuse disguised as business, glamour, or personal relationships. The illusion of Diddy's empire started to collapse under the weight of federal evidence. When his legal team tried to call for mistrial, the judge shut it down instantly. As of now, Diddy faces 5 federal charges, including racketeering conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking, and 2 counts of transporting for prostitution. If convicted, the penalties are severe. The racketeering charge alone carries up to life in prison. The sex trafficking counts each come with a mandatory minimum of 15 years and possibly life. The transportation charges carry another 10 years each. But Diddy's not folding. His defense team, now led by Brian Steele, the same attorney who made headlines during the Young Thug trial, is swinging hard. From the start, they rejected every deal. They argue the acts described were consensual, misunderstood, or part of mutual conflict. They claim Cassie, the lead accuser, wasn't a helpless victim, but a willing, equal participant in a complicated relationship. But as the trial continues, the evidence becomes harder to ignore. During the federal raid on Diddy's homes, agents found what they called clear indicators of predatory behavior. 2 AR-15 style rifles with their serial numbers scratched off, a fully loaded handgun hidden in travel bags, thousands of sex toys, over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant scattered across multiple properties, bags of pills, powders, marijuana, and mystery narcotics, substances prosecutors say were used to incapacitate victims during the freak-offs. Diddy's defense team tried to play it cool. Baby oil isn't illegal, they argued. But that line didn't land, because in this case, nothing feels normal. Not the evidence, not the charges, not the fall of one of hip-hop's biggest icons. What started as whispers in the industry is now a full-blown federal trial, packed with disturbing revelations, haunting testimony, and the possible dismantling of an empire. Whether Diddy walks free or dies in prison, this story has already rewritten the rules of power, fame, and accountability in the entertainment world. One attorney remarked, everything that happened was consensual. That's what Diddy's defense keeps repeating. But prosecutors aren't buying it. They argue the firearms found during the raid weren't harmless or disassembled. They were symbolic. Combine that with drugs, sex paraphernalia, and a sprawling collection of baby oil, and what you get isn't romance. It's control. Federal prosecutors say these weren't the props of pleasure. They were the tools of intimidation. And at the heart of it all, Mull today, drug-fueled freak-offs that blurred the line between consent and coercion, often violently. Central to the government's case are 4 alleged victims, but none more powerful, more emotionally raw than Cassie Ventura. Her story started with music, turned into love, and ended in fear. She testified that her decade-long on-again, off-again relationship with Diddy was anything but glamorous. Cassie said the affection slowly gave way to control, then to threats, then to full-blown abuse. She claimed he forced her into freak-offs, beat her regularly, and issued brutal threats if she dared to resist. One moment captured on hotel security footage showed Diddy shoving, kicking, and dragging her. Proof, she said, of what was happening behind closed doors. When I chose to leave, Cassie told the court, I grabbed what I could and ran. But even in that moment, she said Diddy chased her into the hallway, threw her to the floor, and tried to drag her back inside. The defense tried to paint a different picture. They pointed to thousands of text messages over the years, some of which they read aloud. One message from Cassie said, I love you so much it consumes my life. In another, she allegedly wrote, I'm always ready to freak off. The defense's argument, that Cassie was not only willing, but eager, that this was messy love, not criminal abuse. But Cassie wasn't having it. On the stand, She explained that yes, those texts were real, but they didn't tell the whole story. The message about afternoon lovemaking was sent in 2016, the same year she said Diddy struck her in the face. She admitted trying to emotionally reconnect, but she was clear, love isn't consent to violence. The prosecution backed her up with more witnesses. Hotel security guard Israel Flores recalled responding to a distress call in 2016. He found Diddy and Cassie in an elevator. What stuck with him? That devilish stare, he said. Diddy allegedly offered him a bribe to stay quiet. He refused. Then came Daniel Phillip, a male escort who claimed he was often paid by Diddy to sleep with Cassie, while Diddy watched and pleasured himself. But what haunted him most wasn't the sex, it was the violence. Daniel described one incident where Diddy flew into a rage, threw a bottle at Cassie, then dragged her by the hair into a bedroom. He heard screaming, slapping, things being tossed. Cassie was yelling, I'm sorry, Daniel testified. I didn't say anything at the time. You don't go against someone like him. That fear, that silence, it's a theme that echoed across every witness. Even Dawn Richard, a former member of Danitacane, had her own horror story. She remembered a quiet morning turned violent when Diddy came storming down the stairs yelling about breakfast. Where the F*** is my egg, he screamed. Then, she said, he picked up a hot skillet and tried to strike Cassie in the head. Cassie hit the floor. Dawn also described a dinner party attended by Usher, Neo, and Jimmy Iovine, where Diddy allegedly slapped Cassie in public. No one said a word. Just like that, the abuse was normalized, hidden in plain sight. And it didn't end there. Cassie's close friend Carrie Morgan came forward with more chilling accounts. She described two incidents, one in the Hollywood Hills, another in Jamaica, both marked by Cassie's screams and Diddy's violence. One night, she said, she saw Diddy dragging Cassie down a long hallway by her hair. Carrie admitted she eventually distanced herself out of fear. Diddy allegedly hit and choked her too. She even accepted $30,000 in hush money after threatening legal action, money she says she now regrets taking. But the courtroom gasped when Cassie's own mother took the stand. Cassie Ventura's mother took the stand with quiet fury. She testified that Diddy threatened to release private tapes of her daughter, intimate recordings meant to shame and silence her. She didn't stop there. She presented photos of Cassie with bruises and injuries, which she claimed were the result of Diddy's violent outbursts. Then came testimony from another male escort, known only as a Punisher. His nickname turned heads, but his story echoed the rest. When asked if Cassie seemed comfortable during their encounters, he replied, apart from some flinching, she seemed fine. But he added, beneath the surface, the damage ran deep. Attorney Andrew Van Arsdale, representing survivors in the case, revealed that at least 37 new cases have already been filed against Combs. One of the most harrowing, a woman who said she was just 15 years old when the abuse began. Many said they lived in fear for decades, terrified of what Diddy might do to them, legally or professionally. Among the most gut-wrenching testimonies came from Phil Pines, Diddy's former personal assistant. He worked closely with a mogul between 2019 and 2021. Pines described being tested repeatedly until one night when Diddy handed him a condom, rubbed his shoulders, and told him to go have sex with a woman at the house. I froze, Pines testified. I looked at her and asked, are you okay with this? She said yes. So, I went through the motions. But when he realized that he wasn't watching, he stopped, pulled his pants up, and ran. I felt powerless, he said, his voice shaking, like I couldn't say no. That same feeling was echoed by Sarah Rivers, a former contestant on Making the Band. She described how Diddy cornered her off-camera, running his hand across her chest and whispering, if you need anything, you let me know. She fled in fear, and when she refused his advances, she said she was blacklisted. My career was over, she testified through tears. Sarah didn't hold back. People don't understand what it's like when something you love is stolen from you, she said. They move on, but you stay stuck. You're still stuck 21 years later. While Diddy has pleaded not guilty to all charges and denies everything, Van Arsdale warns, this is just the beginning. He said there are hundreds more lawsuits being prepared, and if Diddy is sentenced in the federal trial, he believes even more survivors will come forward. For Phil Pines, The trauma was deep, but speaking out, he says, has helped him find some peace. Telling my story is therapy, he said. There's power in it. Diddy is the most charismatic person I've ever met, Pines told the court. But there's a dark side to him. I lived in that darkness for 2 years. I hope no one else ever has to. When asked what justice looks like, he didn't hesitate. Jail time, he said. Everyone has their day, and he has to pay for his. After 2 months of emotional testimony, the federal trial finally came to a dramatic close. 34 witnesses, hundreds of hours of evidence. And then, the verdict. The jury found Sean Diddy Combs not guilty on the most serious charges of racketeering and sex trafficking. But they did convict him on 2 federal counts, transporting individuals across state lines for prostitution. The courtroom fell into stunned silence as the decision was read. But outside, Diddy's family exploded with joy. His son Christian, visibly shaken and smiling through tears, told reporters, "We love you all. New beginnings. God bless." But the celebration was premature, because even with a partial acquittal, Diddy still faces up to 20 years in prison. His lawyers are begging the judge to release him before sentencing, arguing that since he beat the most serious charges, he's not a danger or flight risk. Prosecutors strongly disagree. They say Diddy's influence, power, and global resources make him a serious threat. ABC's Rena Roy reported that the Combs family then returned to court after the verdict, likely to await the judge's ruling on pre-sentencing release. Both legal teams had just filed their final arguments. Legal analyst Bernardo Vallona explained that if Diddy isn't released, he'll get credit for the 9 months already served behind bars. Technically, the 2 charges carry a maximum of 10 years each, but Vallona says it's unlikely he'll get the full sentence. She predicts the judge could hand down probation, time served, or a 1 to 3 year sentence. Either way, his future remains uncertain, but his legacy forever changed. Entertainment journalist Kelly Carter put it bluntly. "There's no way around it," she said. "This trial has changed how people talk about him." Yes, he revolutionized music. He dominated TV, fashion, and liquor branding. But now, the word Diddy conjures more than fame. It conjures violence, control, and that infamous hotel surveillance video that shocked the world. Prosecutors, despite the split verdict, praised the courage of the witnesses, especially Cassie Ventura. In a statement, they said, "Without her bravery, none of this would have been possible." Diddy may have survived the racketeering charge, but the world will never see him the same way again. The prosecution's key witness and Diddy's ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, stood at the heart of the case. Her attorney spoke outside court with a measured tone. "We're proud of her courage. She's in a good place and pleased that Combs was finally held accountable for at least some of his actions." He added, "Of course, we hope for full conviction, but we understand how high the burden of proof is." For many, this wasn't just a legal win. It was a cultural reset. For the first time ever, Sean Combs was held criminally responsible. And Cass's case? It opened the floodgates. Now, Diddy faces more than 60 civil lawsuits, many of which detail eerily similar patterns of abuse, coercion, and psychological manipulation. Legal experts are calling this one of the most pivotal celebrity trials of the decade. Analyst Bernardo Vallona noted the broader implications of the verdict, saying this may reshape how prosecutors apply RICO laws. These statutes were created to dismantle the mafia, not target moguls running personal empires. But if an entertainment brand is being used to traffic and harm people, it's a gray area no longer being ignored. The system, once lenient to fame, may be recalibrating. And the chaos continues. Though the verdict is in, the case is still evolving. Diddy's sentencing has officially been scheduled for October 3rd. He was convicted of 2 federal counts of transporting individuals for prostitution, while acquitted of the more severe racketeering and sex trafficking charges. For weeks, it looked like the hearing might be pushed up to late September, but that plan collapsed, and now, both legal teams are preparing for October. Diddy's attorneys are pushing for speed, citing his daughter's emotional needs. Their mother, Kim Porter, died in 2018, and Diddy has been in jail since the conviction. Defense lawyer Mark Giragos made an emotional appeal in court, saying his daughters have no parent at home. But the prosecutors weren't swayed. They said they need time to complete a full pre-sentencing investigation, including interviews with victims, family, associates, and a full background report on Diddy. This isn't just paperwork. It'll guide Judge Arun Subramanian in deciding whether Diddy walks through probation or spends years behind bars. The stakes? Each count carries up to 10 years. That's a potential 20-year sentence, but prosecutors are asking for 51 to 63 months, around 4 to 5 years. Diddy's team is pushing for far less, 21 to 27 months, just under 2 years. With nearly a year already served, they are hoping he could be released soon after sentencing. But legal experts say that's unlikely. Too many disturbing details. Too many unanswered questions. And then came another curveball. A brand new civil suit dropped on his head just as the sentencing timeline was finalized. The pile of litigation grows. And if that wasn't surreal enough, Diddy reportedly received a standing ovation from fellow inmates at the Metropolitan Detention Center after his partial acquittal. A bizarre twist in an already bizarre fall. One juror even spoke anonymously to the press. While the panel couldn't reach consensus on the most serious charges, the juror admitted many believed the government had shown a pattern of disturbing, predatory behavior. That means even in partial acquittal, Diddy lost something far greater than legal ground. He lost public trust. Kelly Carter, senior entertainment reporter, summed it up. There's no separating this trial from his legacy now. He'll always be known for shaping hip-hop, but now he'll also be remembered for the video, the violence, and the victims. As the clock ticks towards sentencing, the world waits. Will Diddy walk free? Will he serve time? Or will the sentence be just another chapter in an ongoing legal firestorm? The man who once ruled music now faces judgment of a different kind, not from the Billboard charts, but from a federal judge. With more than 60 civil lawsuits still pending, one thing is clear: this isn't over. So what do you think? Is this the end of Diddy's empire, or just the beginning of his reckoning? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more deep dives into the fall of a hip-hop icon.